At the outset, I want to thank the cell here for providing me this opportunity of sharing some of the thoughts on sustainability. At Dr. Reddy's Foundation, we made a change about 6 months back. For last 1 decade, we've been doing programs based on charity model, charity mode. And last 6 months, we've actually turned around and said that we want to now look at sustainability of the work that we do. And what I'll therefore share this afternoon with you is our experience so far, our struggle, and some of the key insights that we have got into this space, which probably we could build on and move towards sustainability, all of us. Our program is called LABS, Livelihood Advancement Business Schools, more than a decade-old program today. So broadly, I'll very quickly share with you our social business approach. And in a way, this presentation is a little lateral to whole lot of thinking that we have seen till now. So we've taken a social business approach and not a for-profit approach. And therefore, I'll share how we define it and very, very quickly and how I'll be moving ahead on that. And of course, then our struggle, how far we have come, some key learnings, some key insights, and of course, the future that we are out to create. How we look at Dr. Reddy's Foundation, what is the future we are creating for ourselves in this space. So foundation was started in 1996. Our foundation, for those of you who may be new to it, we are a doer. We are not a funding organization. We have, for example, till date, touched 250,000 youth across the country, placement ratios being 75 to 80%. 1996 we started, headquartered in Hyderabad. 250,000 youth is what we have touched till date. 150 centers is what we run across the country, virtually in all states. We worked in Vietnam, we worked in Sri Lanka, we worked in some of the other Southeast Asian countries. Presently, we are focused in India. Our annual reach last year, for example, we did 33,000 livelihoods. We trained 33,000 youth. We placed them into jobs across the country. Our category that we deal with is 10th dropouts, 10th pass, 12th dropouts, 12th pass. Largely, that's the space we work in. And so to say, economically, bottom of the pyramid. And most of them, the categories, qualifications-wise and payment capacity-wise actually overlap. And that's the space we are in. Why we decided to shift to social business about 6 months back. Essentially, we were limited to, I said, 33,000 numbers, and with big vision that NSDC has shown all of us, we all wanted to scale up now, move to the next level. We wanted to actually do 1 lakh youth a year. And there's no way that we can do that. That's what we thought by grants. Grants limit the size that we can do, and we said unless we become sustainable, we can't reach there, and therefore we changed tracks. That was one reason. Then, of course, strings of the grants were making life very difficult. You know, when you wanted to continue a center in Kolkata, the donor said, no, let's move on. When there was a need there, you couldn't service it. You couldn't service it the way you wanted to service it. Strings of donations, corporate donations, government money, all were creating life very difficult for us, making life difficult for us. And we were actually stagnating. That's what we thought. We were stagnating at a particular quality level. We were not moving beyond because actually there was no innovation pressure. The customer was not really putting pressure on us to innovate, and therefore we were stagnating at whatever best we could achieve internally, and we wanted to move beyond. And then we thought probably the time has come for a new model. At Dr. Reddy's Foundation, the key task we see for ourselves is creating models. In fact, LABS is a model which most of the agencies today are following. We were the first ones to pilot this program with Ministry of Rural Development, around which Ministry of Rural Development then, we helped them write a scheme around it. So for us, creating models is a very key thing, as is discovering drugs in our parent company. And that's what we thought, time has come for a new model. And so how we define social business presently, and this is evolving as we move ahead, is that we'll recover our costs, and we will generate a small surplus for growth. And no to grants. So we actually pulled out of the Ministry of Rural Development program, we pulled out of the other government programs, we are now pulling out of all programs, subsidy based, and we said we'll recover our costs, we'll generate a small margin for our own growth. And essentially this will be a business approach, but the capital which is invested will not seek profits, will not seek returns, economic returns. The equity that we will bring in will seek social returns. And of course, going forward, equity could actually be returned back in its original form. So protection of equity, so to say, no economic returns on that, only social returns on equity. But basically, essentially a business model, absolutely business model. And of course, idea was also, objective for us was also to convert the beneficiary to a customer and therefore have them be a demand on us to innovate, to provide service, quality, and changing needs are met as we move along.
To a private limited model from
No. So our contours of the structure have not changed.
I see. Okay.
It's a not-for-profit entity. It remains, and our profit motive is not there. We are not out to earn a profit. We want to sustain ourselves. Sustainability is the key issue,
Sure.
not profitability. In fact, we took a little while to decipher this. For-profit entity, separate entity we want to make, or finally we decided to go along in the same format. How far we have come in last 6 months? So September we started this. We have trained and placed 2,400 youth since then. Since then we have done 2,400 youth have been trained, fee charged, placed. That's a number since conversion. Average salaries of course have gone up. Our kids now get anywhere from 5,800, 6,000 to about 9,000 rupees a month. So our average salaries actually have gone up, which we believe is actually a whole lot of seriousness has come into the training program. Serious kids come in. Our facilitators, our trainers are responding to the demands that these people bring in, and salaries, of course, placements are better, much better. There's an immense innovation pressure on us, to which we are actually responding. Mobilization practices are undergoing drastic changes now. So the earlier way of mobilization no more works, and there is a whole lot of struggle around that. We are innovating. Placement practices have undergone drastic changes. So the free model has different ways of doing things. So a lot of innovation pressure, and day in, day out, there's a struggle, huge struggle. But that's what we bought, and we are fine with that. Classrooms strength has gone down actually. Whatever is the capacity today, we are able to fill only about 1/3 of the capacity. And we've moved into second batches now, and second batches are a little better, slightly better, about 48-49% we've been able to fill in. And we figure out that by about third or fourth batches, probably some kind of a normalcy will get restored in operations. And I think this is something I would like to spend a little time on. What have been our key insights into the journey till now? In fact, what we've realized is that back-loaded payments are likely to work. So the present mechanism that finally we are now on with is a back-ended payment model where kids pay after they get jobs. So about 90% of the payment happens after they get jobs, and only about 10% of the payment happens before they get jobs, before they enter classes. We ran about 7 pilots across the country. Most of the places are back-ended payments. Recovery rates were as high as 80%, 85%. That seems to work, and that's what we are now scaling up in most of our other centers across the country. Another.
Just sorry to interrupt. What's your pricing for these programs compared to salary?
I'll come to that actually. 1x. It's not more than x. 1x, right? And that's actually the social business. The social side is it will not be more than 1x. That's a conscious decision that we have taken at our end. Another interesting thing we found was that poor can be trusted to pay after placements. Invariably, this has been our learning. Poor can actually be trusted. The kind of relationship which gets built up between the trainer and the poor kid on the other side in 45 days of training program or so is actually a huge leverage thereafter, and we are able to actually get payments after placements. And of course, we struggled here, and this was, I think, for us at least a very, very hard learning that poor pay only for instant gratification. You hand them a TV, they take home, they'll pay 10,000 rupees, 8,000 rupees, 7,000 rupees. But you sell them a hope, you will get a job after 2 months, 3 months, 1.5 months, they somehow don't pay. So this is a hard learning for us, and we are trying to build this in most of our practices. Getting them in classrooms is difficult once they do not leave. This is again something that we are leveraging upon. As kids walk in, getting them in is difficult. Once they are in, it's like probably, in fact, at least in about 3 pilots, we had retrainings done for them so that we could move them on the value chain. So actually, it's like once you get them in, they are in. And then probably you could consider doing repeated programs for them 6 months, 8 months later, 1 year later, whatever. This is something very interesting we found out. Jobs as a route to fulfilling aspirations sells better than a job. So when we initially wanted to sell job as output, it didn't work. But job as a route to fulfilling bigger aspirations that they have, even continuing education. For example, most kids in the classroom today come, I want a job so that I can continue education and I can do better. So jobs as only a means of fulfilling aspirations sells better than just selling the idea of a job. That's again a very interesting learning we had across our centers in last 6 months. And of course, in the bracket that we are, conscious choice is 1x, 1 month salary is most likely to work. Or that's the cap that we have put in, bringing that social perspective in mind. What we also realize, we are also working a lot on the technology platforms and all. But for the category that we work in, our realization in last 6 months is intense face-to-face trainer interaction is a preferred sought-after experience by the trainees that we. So this is something they value. I don't know, probably they have, in schools that they have dropped out, they never had this kind of a relationship with the teacher, or primarily probably teacher threw them out or whatever. Now this is a pain point they have, and we build on that pain point, and therefore for us technology will play only a part up to a point, not beyond that. And what future we are creating at Dr. Reddy's Foundation, we want to, in next 6 months, have these 100 centers sustain, break even, right? So break even their cost initially, and then I think we are aggressively moving towards that objective. We are continuously innovating on post-placement payment mechanisms to improve the recovery ratios. So we are trying various options, continued engagement with the trainees 1 year after placement, and another placement after a year. I mean, we are experimenting on a whole lot of ideas on how to increase the post-placement recovery ratios. And another interesting thing we are now trying is to get CSR money as a responsible capital. So not only our own money, but other CSR money, the capital that does not chase economic returns, but chases social returns. So we are trying that idea. It's working out. So we are in the initial stages, but this is something again we want to create as a possibility, that CSR money could actually come in as a responsible equity, responsible capital. That's all. Thank you.